Hey, what's up everyone? Morey Croson here, and today we're going to be going over 3 key moments of the throw, and we'll start the video right now. This is the newest edition of the Performance Lab. Reach your individual goals. You don't want to just talk about straight line speed. We also want to talk about your ability to be quick. We break down your video. Let's make you into the quarterback I know you can become. All right, so I really wanted to be able to isolate 3 distinct moments that happen in the throw to be able to help you better understand how to generate more force when throwing the football. And so, what we're going into here is, really the load, the transition, and the follow through. But we're going to focus on just the lower body, right? And those moments, right? Because there's a lot that's going on in the upper body, there's a lot that's going on in the trunk, but to be able to really isolate how well you're able to load, how well you're able to transition, and how well you're able to finish can really make a big difference in your ability to increase your throwing distance overall. And so, we're going to be able to see, obviously this is me here on the left and then Josh Allen here on the right. I do a lot of stuff with being able to do some comparative kind of analysis with Josh Allen. And, the big thing that happens here with the load, obviously you can see a lot of ankle bend, a lot of knee bend, but look at the, position the knee is in comparison to the foot, right? The knee isn't really far inside. It really is pretty much even with it, and then as the weight starts to shift forward, you can see how the knee begins to shift inwards. And you could also see the toe, how the toe's in the same type of position here. You can't really see that as well for me because I'm throwing over to the left here. But what ends up being important is getting that distinction, right? And that back foot doesn't want to be faced inside. I'll see that a lot where people will have that back toe facing inside, and you'll also see that knee be really inside of the leg in general. So you can see where his alignment is, and this is going to be the load, right? This is something that to me is fairly easy to be able to correct, fairly easy to be able to improve, but that I see a lot of quarterbacks make when it comes to being able to throw the ball far is really being able to properly load into that back leg. And so we can see here, being able to kind of sit back there, and then as the weight is transferring forward, and really what ends up being, the important second moment is that foot contact. Right, so first moment is kind of the initial load, right? Being able to really sit back, bend that knee. The second one is going to be foot contact, okay? And how does that look, okay? Because what ends up happening is that as our weight, is shifted forward, we want to be able to really land with the foot all at one time, right? We don't want to end up landing with the ball of the foot more so than the heel, or the heel, more than the ball of the foot, or have more of the weight off of the heel, right? Just land only on the toes, right? We want the whole foot to be landing, basically at the same time. And as we're landing, we still want to be able to keep a good amount of the weight back. You want to have a good solid knee bend within that front leg, and we want to make sure that foot is out in front of the hip. Okay, we don't want to have the foot right underneath the hip, and we also don't want to make it so, that foot is really extended. And that is, really a common thing, more so because of all the weight that's transferring forward. A lot of it has to do with the weight distribution. And so if you're going and your knee is extending early, then a lot of times, again, that goes into how well you're able to, distribute your weight overall. And then the last thing is going to be, really the finish, the follow through. What happens from here? Right, and you can see this ends up being the big difference between Josh Allen and him being able to throw the ball really far, and me and not being able to throw the ball as far. Right, so as he lands on that front leg, he does a good job of being able to really push down through that heel to be able to keep some of that weight back. And that is also an important distinction I want to make before I get into that, is when you load, you do want to keep a good amount of weight into your balls, into the balls of your feet. I've made this. Or I've tried this out a few different ways. You don't want to have too much weight in the heels. You don't want to end up having a lot of weight on the outside part of the foot. To me, I've had the most amount of success in being able to push off that back leg by keeping more of the weight into the balls of my feet as I'm loading. And then once that front foot hits, kind of keep everything, pretty evenly distributed. And then as you're shifting your weight onto that front leg, you really want to be pushing more down through the heels. Right, and so I make that mistake here, and I land and immediately shift all of my weight forward. Right, so you can see he does a really good job of keeping his weight back more. Right, you can see how his body is further back than the heel, where you can see my body is all the way, basically all the way up to the heel. So I've already started a large amount of that forward movement overall, right? And that ends up getting me into trouble. So, and I want to be able to show you guys what I'm working on, right? How can I improve? I don't want to make it just seem like, okay, I'm doing everything right. I have things that I need to improve as well. This is probably about a 50, 55 yard throw, right? And it just shows like I can get a lot better. A lot of you guys can get a lot better, right? And this is just looking at some of the, specifics on where can we improve in terms of, the timing within the throw and really trying to, isolate different parts of the movement pattern. Because to me, the more you can isolate it, the more you can make it so it's one individual thing that we're working on, the better the opportunity is to be able to improve it. If it's, way too many things, or if it's too general, then it's harder to be able to really isolate the problem and be able to fix the problem. But if I can make it as specific as possible, now I can get the knowledge, now I can get the information, now I can practice it, now I can improve it, right? And so for me, I shift all of my weight too far forward and, really release the ball at a place where, I don't have very much behind it, right? And you can see in comparison to where Josh Allen is releasing the ball, he still has a lot more weight behind it, and a lot of it has to do with how he's pushing through that heel, right? So as you're shifting your weight onto that front leg, especially on the deep ball, you want to be pushing on the heel to be able to maintain more of a vertical action rather than getting all of your weight onto, for me, I was trying to get my weight onto the balls of my feet, and that made it so now my heel comes off of the ground, which is going to make it so it's ineffective and not able to, properly distribute that weight. So as the ball is released out of my hands, now I'm really starting to be able to extend, where for him, you can see he's extending as that weight shifting onto the front leg. So, there's a couple different distinctions that end up happening that can really, again, make a big difference within your throwing distance. And I wanted to be able to isolate those just in the lower body so you could really be able to focus on that. I see a few things that I need to definitely work on here within my upper body in order to improve, but that's not really the goal of the video. It's really to be able to isolate how can we be, and get to the right positions within the lower body in order to maximize our overall throwing power. All right, so if you have any questions, go ahead and leave those down below. As always, if you like the information, click that thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. We have a lot of great things down in the description. We have, the Throw 60 program. We have a Zoom call for the Throw 60 program. It's a free Zoom if you want to learn more about it. If you're watching some of these videos, trying to improve your throwing distance and, have some degree of, issues or difficulties. I always say, like, the biggest mistake that I made was not put a big enough focus on throwing distance at a younger age. I wish when I was in 9th and 10th grade, I really focused on throwing distance because I think that would have made a big difference in my ability to get recruited. But instead, I was more focused on rhythm and timing and reading defenses and footwork. And, that stuff's all important. I'm not saying it's not important. It's just not as important, doesn't get you as much exposure as being able to throw the ball far. Because once you have the distance, you could add in everything else. But if you're just somebody that doesn't have the distance, then a lot of times coaches will just look right by you. And so that's why I'm putting a big focus on the Throw 60. We also have a quarterback biomechanics course. We have a couple different free options that you have as well. But yeah, a lot of content, a lot of information. Go ahead and check out the description below in order to find out more about it. And as always, thanks for watching. We'll talk to you soon.